bought this Hacker Sovereign. I knew it wasn't working, and I thought what we could do is make a repair video with a little bit of difference, where I give some clues, and people joined in the comments and helped fault find it. I didn't suspect at the time that it would have so many faults, and like the name of the song, it's been a wicked game. I finally got it working, and if you'll bear with me and watch through to the end of this video, you'll see all the problems I had with it. But yeah, it's working, so I very much apologise that this series hasn't gone as I planned, but there we go. That's it for me for playing guitar. While I'm waiting for some various bits and pieces to come in the post to repair the Hacker chassis, I'm going to start repairing the cabinet here. Now I think what's happened is someone's dropped the radio while the back's open or something, and it's sprung these bits of wood, which they've annoyingly put super glue on to fix. Super glue on wood, okay if you get a good fit, but this isn't a good fit, and the fit they had was rising it up like that. You can see in earlier videos how exactly bad it was. So luckily I've got some very sharp chisels, including this beautiful old mortise chisel, and I'm going to have to start digging out the super glue, and I'll probably take the super glue off the back here, make sure I've got it all off here so proper wood glue will stick it, reduce the back of this and it will sit flusher, and then we'll have to try and sand this bit down flush. So that's another little bit that needs doing on the radio, and this has had some battery acid attack on it, so I'll get all this cleaned out, print off new labels for the battery holder compartment thing here, and clean all this rusty old battery leakage off. So while I'm sitting and waiting for the bits for this, I'll go ahead and do this. Right, here we are with the two bits of wood glued back in. I'll let them dry about 24 hours, and then I've gone in there with a wood rasp, quite a rough rasp, to get the worst of the glue off and any bits. I've then gone in there with a shoulder plane, sorry, a bullnose plane. This one's a Stanley Sweetheart, made in the US in the early 1900s, I would think. Just gone in there with that and taken a small bit off, just so it was flat, and then I've gone in there with a plane and taken this rim, which is of course hidden behind the hinge anyway. And lastly, I've used the base of this radar valve. This cube of metal is actually part of the valve, and just gone in there with a bit of sandpaper and cleaned it up. Next thing I'll do is I'll put a bit of wood filler in there. There's a few little dips and stuff and bumps, and I'll let that set and clean it up, and then give it a coat of thin black paint, and then that should be good as new-ish. Right, it's Monday night, the 4th of February, and I'm back on this Sovereign after work. It's an absolute pig, I can assure you. It's got the dodgiest volume control. I've still got no local oscillator. As you can see, I've got something on there, but I think that might be audio. But even though the Pro's right next to the local oscillator coil just there. I've done my usual tap and probe and looking for dry joints, etc., and I have found this. You can see that leg of this capacitor. Let's do it this way. You see that moving? I'm not sure whether it's that that's stopping the local oscillator from running, but I'm going to solder that up obviously and see what happens. I've replaced C21, which is the big red or blue capacitor sometimes that sits in this position on the other side of the board. Obviously this one here, that's a well-known culprit. They're pretty rubbish capacitors, but there's actually nothing wrong with it. So yeah, trying to keep on going. I did have FM working quite nicely the other day, and it's not working at all now. I think fixing the volume control is going to solve a lot of issues. They arrived today, and yeah, they should work very well. There's the order code. It's now Friday night, and I mentioned in the last segment I filmed, which was on Monday, that I didn't have FM anymore, and looky on the FM side of things, this was just hanging on by a single strand. This radio is turning to be an absolute dog. Hopefully I can get it working. I've just started looking at it again. I recapped the amp board the other night, just put some new capacitors in there, these Vichy ones, which are damnably expensive. Put some of those in there. I forgot to order two different values, so I'm going to have to live with it, but the amp board worked anyway. Now turning to the top, I'm going to replace the volume control. So I've started disassembling it, and one of these was rattling around inside, so someone's obviously been in there. If you remember, when I first opened it, there was a couple of screws, and obviously there's a screw holding this brass tube on from the other side, and it had obviously been undone or fallen out or something, but so I've put that back on, but yeah, that was rattling around inside. So yeah, this radio is turning out to be rather fun. Right, I've been playing around with this all Sunday, trying to look for any issues and stuff. I've got no idea now. I've traced through the oscillator core, that seems alright. FM gain is very, very low. And then I decided to do the usual and just start signal tracing a little bit. And I decided to put my aerial, so this is not connected, it's not rectified or anything, through a diode. This is just straight up into the loft, a bit of wire. Listen to this. Set switch to medium wave, that doesn't really matter. So I'm now going to touch my aerial onto the wiper of the volume control. That's radio 5. And it doesn't matter what wave band you switched it on, obviously. It's acting.
It's very happy.
What the hell? I am just... I don't understand what is going on. FM is very, very low. It's almost... I don't... That's the amp at full whack. So I haven't touched anything other than replace the capacitor, some electrolytics, mainly in the amp board, but one down there on that, which just because I felt like it, and the other one was absolutely fine. I've swapped out, let's get, oh, it doesn't really matter, I've swapped out the BF194 or whatever it is, or T1 on the board here. I've swapped that out, put a 2N3904 in there. Same, test the transistor completely out the side of the radio, sorry, tested the BF194 out of the radio. That worked absolutely fine, didn't say anything was wrong with it, good HFE on it. Obviously put the BF194 back in, still doesn't work. Trace through the local oscillator coil, that seems to check out fine. I don't know, and then I'll go and put the aerial or a bit of wire, and how I found it, I had my Keithley meter going, I was just checking some voltages and I had it set to AC, and I was just going to check, you know, if there's anything on the, what sort of millivolts were on the wiper of the volume control, and Billy bingo. I wonder if it, there you go, so meter lead, wiper of volume control. Or alternatively you can put it here on the input on this socket onto your amp board. Tell you what fellas, I'm just absolutely don't know what's going on. It has been worked on before. I think someone's, because there are a few bits inside here missing, I think someone had looked at the volume control before and may even have replaced it. Plus the fact that the chassis is not the one that came with it, or at least the turntable is a different number to the chassis, different serial number. I'm a bit lost. I need to think about this. So this was going to be one where I gave you a load of clues and you had to come up with the answer, and that answer obviously I was going to go and check, but I can't even get it to work at all. No local oscillator, and I can't see anything wrong. I've got voltage on the transistors. There's something fundamentally wrong with this that I'm not seeing at the moment. Maybe I need to put it away. If anyone's got any experience of that, I'd be very pleased to hear from you. That is just crazy. That is just bonkers. That is bonkers. Well, I don't know. Right, this is about 2 weeks after I filmed the last lot of film. I was getting so fed up with this radio that I walked away from it for a couple of weeks and just cleared my head. And tonight I'm going to disregard the local oscillator problem, or lack of, in this area, and concentrate why I've got 9 volts coming into the board but I've not got any voltage on any of the transistors. So let me flip the thing around and we're going to have a look. Right, hopefully you can see this. I've got the camera quite close and I've stuck my little Aneng 8008, which you must only use on transistor radios. Don't use one of these on don't use that on valve radios. It's not got the protection. So right, so we should, if I switch to medium wave, switch the set on, we've got no RF. Now when I first took this set apart, I checked for 9 volts there, and of course there was 9 volts there. And then I checked further down on this transistor on the other side just here, and there was no voltages. And I assumed that was because the transistor was duff. I made quite a stupid error really, and didn't check that there was 9 volts getting all the way around. I just assumed there was. So we've got 9 volts there where the supply comes in, but we've got nothing on the leg of this 470 resistor we've just got a few millivolts, and I bet you I can turn that off by flexing the board. Yeah, it's moving. So that means we've got a crack, an open trace between this point here and this point here, and it should be continuous. And I'd suggest that the crack is in the corner here. Maybe this board was etched in one unit like this, so it was big, and then they cut this out afterwards, and that's just flexed a bit too far and cracked this trace. I can't see any breaks, but I've got a strong suspicion it's around here, right in this angle. And we can test that by just bridging the two parts. So I'm just going to croc clip one end of that to the 470R resistor, and the other one. So, and there we've got medium wave, and we've got long wave. Very, very quiet. So, success. That's yet another fault that I've found, and we're about to correct. So what I'll do is I'll try a little bridging wire. I'll scrape some of this green coating off and try a little bridge just here, see if that works. If not, I'll run a straight wire from that point to that point, and we'll see how well that works. Right, I've made the repair, which is just here. I was dead right, that's where it was broken. So I've put a little bit of solder, so I've just cleaned off, scratched off a little bit of this green coating and put a solder bridge across here. What I'm actually going to do off camera, because it was fiddly, is get a little bit of copper wire and run it across, just drop it in there, and just to give it a little bit of extra strength, because that's obviously a bit of a flex point. That means the radio is now working on medium wave and long wave as well as FM, but we've got very, very low gain. And if I didn't mention it before, maybe one train of thought I have in my head is because someone didn't have medium wave and long wave, they've been twiddling. The only way I'm going to check that is getting my signal generator out, and I don't have a wobulator for AM. These are quite or Hacker are quite specific in their recommendations for aligning these sets. But anyway, that's another little success on this problematic radio, and I'll move on to something else now. See if we can get the gain up, because it's awfully quiet. It's now Monday the 25th of February, and I've just got home from work, and I've been thinking about this on my drive home from work. The last time we left the radio, or the last segment I filmed, we had very low gain on FM and very low gain on AM. But we did have something there. So I thought, well, where's the audio going? It's obviously going to the volume control and passing off to the amplifier. Now we know the amplifier's okay because I tested it. So what's between where the audio comes out and the volume control? So let's have a look. So the audio comes out here off the AM IF board. It passes through this switch. It goes through this little capacitor which is on the switchboard, which I've replaced anyway, and it passes off either to the tape output or the gram input. It's called external input here. So it passes off there through the external input and to the volume control, where it passes off to the amplifier. Now we know we're getting audio, and we know it's passing audio through to the amplifier. So, and I've replaced the volume control, so this section seems to be working okay. Now I did check that I've wired the volume control up. It's not that hard to wire up. So let's move further back up the chain and the gram input. So I'll give it a prod, and even though I cleaned it, or I thought I cleaned it, this is the result.
Chris Sutton in place. We'll have updates of Forest Derby in the Championship team. Massive game that. Tough as unborn from now. When we'll
It's that's on FM. I haven't got an aerial connected, but let's just touch it. Get my aerial here. There you go. So it's all working now. So the problem, after all the other problems, was the input gram connection. Now I've had problems with the headphones, and we did on this, had problems with the headphone socket, and this set had a problem. It was completely dead. But also, it also had a problem with the input gram socket. So that's another two issues, or sorry, another issue. I'd never seen that before with the input gram socket, but that should have been obvious to me. So there we go, I've got the set working. I'm going to try and do something there because I'm not sure it's going to be stable. Let's give it a little prod. See, it's quite touchy. Yeah, but at least it's working now, so we got somewhere. Let's turn it off. So as you can imagine, after what, nearly a month, with a 2-week pause because I was so frustrated with this set, it took me a total of about 2 minutes to find 2 faults. Obviously the crack on the PCB track, which I put a little bridge there, and now this tonight. That took me about a minute to find that after I'd thought about it. So even though I thought someone might have twiddled the IF cans, I sort of thought, well, let's go back to basics. Is someone really going to twiddle? There's about 10 different cans on here. Is someone really going to twiddle all of those? They might have, but this has still got the rubber little rubber thread things to hold the cores, and they usually fall to bits as soon as you twiddle them on a set of this age. So yeah, quite happy. It works on all 3 wave bands now. It's flipping loud. So I'm gonna get on and fit it all back together, and I've got some more capacitors to replace here and there. Let's unplug the battery because I don't think I showed the repair to the woodwork I did fully. So there's the repair I did to the woodwork. Obviously it all chipped around here, so I don't think that's a bad job at all. You can't see that at all now, well, you can't see that big chip. So there we go. So more to come obviously, because this set is no way finished yet, and yeah, thanks for watching this disaster piece of a fault finding exercise.